please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
I feel very thankful to be here with all of you because it's nice to talk to people who are gonna get it in a way. I feel like sometimes when I'm traveling and I go to places where, especially when I go overseas, and there are places that are not as engaged or involved with American politics, that there's a sentiment of like we're just watching the show and y'all are like cast in the show, and so that it's very different to have a chat with you. Because I'll be very honest with you, it's been taking me a long time to distill the way I feel about what is happening in LA. Because what's happening in LA over the past couple weeks is it's insane to watch, because I have plenty of friends in LA and I talk to them daily and everything. And I also watch the news, and not maybe since COVID have I seen such distant realities. Do you know what I mean? Like such like completely opposite ends of the spectrum, what is happening and what is said about what's happening. And okay, because if you're watching the news, everyone in LA is dead. They've been dead for a while. The military came, but they were too late. Everyone is, in fact, I think the military dead too. Like it's really just a black hole of death that no one can stop, but somehow the reporters are reporting. And it is strange, because when they send the reporter out to cover what some people are even calling the riots in LA, the reporter, not every single one of them, I'll get to them, but the reporter is standing there while everybody else is standing there. And they're giving a very different report than what we can see behind them. A lot of people don't know this about me, but from the time that I was a child, because I grew up in Louisiana, my family and all the families around me were all affected by Hurricane Katrina. So I have very, very strong feelings about protecting journalists, protecting reporters, and not putting them out there with the weather. Because we see it. We see the weather, and I believe you every time. Whenever you say it's a hurricane, and I look outside, I'm like, that look hurricane-like. I don't then need you to send our local newscaster to hold on to a telephone pole while he tells us how bad it is. The way that these people will almost be horizontal reporting on the wind speed, it's like we don't need them as a visual test of what is happening right now. Everyone watching is inside. There's no one watching from outside like, yeah, seems like I should probably move from where I am now. No, I hate that. I hate when it's like weather is one of those things where I'm like, I don't know what the spin could be. Like to a certain degree, I understand when a journalist, when a newscaster feels the need to go. What this shows right now is how many of y'all don't put your phone on silent. Like there's no... No, I know it is. That's crazy. Well then I will be quick then. Yeah. Okay, real quick. Just for a quick second. What flash flood? Oh no, the parade. Y'all. Don't do that. It's his birthday. It's not my birthday. But a great example, like a flash flood, and they'll put the newscaster in the water, and it's like, well, what we can see here, John, is... It's another level of insane, because when it comes to the news and the weather, I don't know what the spin could be. There's a storm outside. No, it's not. Weather, as long as you're not talking about specifically climate change, is like the last bipartisan subject. It's like the last thing. There's no way that anyone hates, conservatives or liberals enough to see the rain and be like, but it's not. Like, that just doesn't happen. It's one of the last tethers to reality, and we make those newscasters go in it. These poor newscasters in Arizona look like they about to pass out. Half the reports they do talking about the heat. They got them over there, no shade. You can tell the budget of a newsroom by how they send the journalists out there, because sometimes they'll be out there and be like, blistering heat today in downtown Phoenix, temperatures reaching 111 degrees. Like, stop doing it, If it's hot, we can feel it, and when you tell us, we'll believe you, If it's a hurricane, this is one of the things that I have tried my best to be fair with, because you see people, and I really feel like this only happens here. There's no other country I know of where people proudly go out into the hurricane and like tap dance in the hurricane to show the rain that they're not scared. That's a distinctly American male thing to do, to be like, hey, ain't nobody scared of some water? Come and get me, and they're never seen again. I'm just saying, you don't really see that anywhere else. And I used to think that those were like the dumbest people in the world. But then as I got older, I was like, you know what? Maybe they just watched the news. And they were like, he's standing out there, and he telling me not to go outside. It's too dangerous, but he outside. What, he think I'm a punk? If he can be outside, I'll be outside. I'll be outside all I want. And then they go outside, and then they're never seen again. But the thing with people covering LA and standing in front of whether it's LAPD or National Guard lined up and protesters a distance away lined up. It's a very different thing because now they're coloring it for you, but you can see behind them. And it's hard to know what to make of it. Because when I talk to my friends in LA, they're like, very chill. They're always chill, but like they're very chill in this specific instance. I called some of my friends because I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not better than anybody. I fell for some of like the propaganda that was going on. I called some of my friends immediately because I don't know LA neighborhoods that well. And I live in New York where if something is happening, it is happening to everyone. Thoroughly happening to everyone right now, And so, okay, I'm digressing for a second, but just as an example, one time there was all I can describe it as is like a tiny tornado of trash. It literally was not taller than this mic stand, but it was spinning because it was a windy day out and the trash wanted to be together, I guess. And so the trash spinning. And it's like, I don't know, I grew up like, deep south and everything. So whenever I see one of those, I'm like, ooh, that's a bad spirit. Like that's I get real superstitious real quick. If you a tiny tornado, if you an eye-level tornado, I don't come near you, all right? That's a bad spirit. You got Dorito bags in you and everything. You got all types of disgusting stuff. No, I might get possessed. And so I was keeping my distance, but there were other people walking down the street. I actually crossed the street because I saw it up ahead. I was like, nah, I don't need those problems. Like, I like having my whole body, mind, and soul. I don't want some of it to be like Derek from 81st. You know what I mean? Like, that feel like who would possess you? Just somebody who like never had a job and burps as loud as possible. And so I crossed the street, but there were other people that were walking next to me that kept going, and they walked right into it. And even though I was across the street, I knew when they walked into it because my back was turned, and I still heard. I'm like, not walking into a Thai tornado with your mouth open. That's just irresponsible. And sure enough, that Thai tornado got like 8 people. Just being itself. If something happens in New York, it's happening to everybody. If one train is down, the city stops. We get around it, people get mad, they get off the train, they run to work, they hop on a bike or whatever, they take a cab. But like, one thing happens, it has a ripple effect. LA doesn't seem like that to me. Like I've been in different parts of LA and I thought all of it was like one thing. I couldn't have been more wrong. And so I was calling my friends as I was freaking out because I was seeing the stuff that was happening. Waymos. You know the driverless car that shouldn't exist? You know that thing that's just on the road and we all act like it's normal, but we're slowly acting out the plot of iRobot currently? You know that thing? Those were on fire. There were Waymos on fire. So I called my friends like, you not in a Waymo, are you? Oh, if you in a Waymo, get out right now. Because to be fair, we didn't really even know why the Waymos were on fire. Maybe there were people setting the Waymos on fire, but maybe the Waymos saw all the unrest and they were like, this is our time. One time I was with my friend in San Francisco and a Waymo passed by and he was admittedly very high. But he doesn't trust Waymos because the first time he ever took a Waymo was by accident because he lost his wallet, his phone, like he got all his stuff stolen, right? And so he asked a friend to get him a ride home, okay? So he gets the friend to get him a ride home. He doesn't know that friend used the app Waymo instead of like Uber or whatever. So then he's high in the story too. He's actually high all the time, but he gets into the car and he's like, you know, a little fade, a little drunk, a little high. And then he gets in the car and then the car takes off. And so the way he told the story, I wasn't there. The way he told the story is finally he asked, you know, for a little music. He's like, dang, it's quiet in here, dog. Can you turn something on? And he half nodding off anyway, but he's like, can you turn something on? It's quiet in here, dog. Like, let's get it popping, you know. Can I get some? It doesn't matter what it is. Whatever you like, dog. Can anything. Yo, I know you hear me talking to you. And then he said he leaned forward. This is how he tells the story. He leaned forward and saw nobody was in there, and then he started praying. Because he was like, no, you know what? You know what? You know what, Lord? You know I haven't been right. I haven't been right. And if you see me through this, I swear I'm going to change my ways. If you see me through this right now, if you deliver me through, I'm going to leave the alcohol alone. I'm going to leave the weeds. He gets home, he sees his house, he's like, thank you, Lord, thank you. And obviously he was lying because he was high when he was next to me. But a Waymo passed by and he was like, that thing right there, nobody gonna believe me when I tell you, but that thing right there, I don't trust those things, all right? Let me tell you something right now. That thing over there, all AI, all self-driving intelligence stuff, don't trust that thing. Believe me, that's a transformer. Look, all I'm saying, if I wanted to act out the plot of one of the Transformer movies, what would I do? I come down to earth as a bunch of driverless cars, keep it easy for a little while, and then one day, boom. Don't get in there. Don't get in one of them. You're going to end up in its chest. I'm telling you right now. And so I called so many of my friends. I was like, hey, are you okay? Are you good? And they were like, yeah, no, I'm fine. And they said they were fine with the annoyance of like, they said that they were fine with the annoyance that I have when my mom calls me to ask me if I'm okay. She saw that there was a storm in New York, and I'm like, no, it was just a bunch of trash spinning in a circle. It's not that serious. You worry too much. No, they were genuinely like, no, that's actually here. And they started explaining LA neighborhoods to me, and I'm not gonna lie, I glazed over. Like I just... But once I knew that they were safe and that everyone I knew was safe, I was like, well, then where is this happening? I know a lot of people in LA. I've called a lot of people. Everybody is fine. Where is this happening? It turns out it's all happening over like, I think 2 square blocks. I don't even know. It's like, it's such a small area. It might as well be a movie set. And it's crazy because if you listen to, Fox News, some of these outlets, you would think that the entire city was burning right now. There are people sharing stories on Facebook, and the entire place is devastated. And the president said, if I didn't send the National Guard, they'd be in shambles right now. But then when you look at video, and I'm not talking about video from protesters, I'm not talking about video of bystanders of the protest. I'm talking about video of people in Los Angeles 2 blocks away from the protest. There are people literally blowing bubbles. And there is no opposite to your city being on fire than bubbles. Bubbles, Bubbles are like a truly first world problem. Like, and they weren't even blowing bubbles regular. They were over here like, once you do it with your foot in the air, that's too much whimsy for your city to be on fire. Not blowing bubbles like, blah, blah, blah. Look at that. That's so cool. I'm talking about, And it is difficult when it's presented in front of you so heavily, an agenda with reporting versus just saying what happened. I didn't even know you could do that, by the way. It wasn't until I left the country and watched the news in other countries that you can just say what happened. Like when you watch the news in Spain, they don't even put a spin on it. They're just like, yeah, right there. They don't even try. This is what's crazy, is that the news around the world, they don't even try to be entertaining. They give it to you so straight, they don't even have good voices half the time. Sometimes there's a guy being like, yes, 2 people were found in the basement, and they said that they were trapped there by the man who lived there. Very dry, nothing. They're not putting on 2 people found dead. Like, it's... That's my favorite, by the way. I love when an anchor is like going out of a fun story to a sad story, but either they didn't get the stack of reports ahead of time, or they're just reading the prompter in real time, so they don't know that they need to do the tone shift. And so they just finished like promoting a shelter that has saved like 67 puppies or something. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that sweet? I mean, you just love to see stuff like that, don't you? Anyway, 15 burned to death in a fire. Oh. And then you see in their eyes that they're like, I already started high. I started up here if I drop it. Now, and sometimes they try to drop it. They're like, found dead this morning. Don't act like you weren't talking the whole time. That was you the whole time. But you even see it in LA, because the misconception people have is that the thing that initially happened in LA versus like protesters and ICE and everything was like all over LA, was just all happening at one time. When actually it's around these very few square blocks. That's where all of it's like going down. You know, I'm not saying there weren't protests in other places, but those protests went on without incident. It's here. This is like the main sticking point. And this is what they keep shooting footage of over and over and over again and showing you over and over and over again from different angles, right? And they're so thirsty for it that there was one dude that had a Mexican flag, was on a smashed up car, and you can see when you look at the picture that there are like 15 cameras surrounding the car looking up at him, and then everyone protesting is like a block down with nobody there. You know, because they're selling you a story. They're selling you a story about chaos that's unfolding and everything. And they even, you know, will have the newscaster out there. This journalist is out there. And I have a lot of respect for journalists. They do an incredibly difficult job, and they have to do it under constraints that some of us can't understand. Because if you worked your entire life to try to get to the truth, and then you finally get a job, maybe it's not even a well-paying job, and you're allowed to tell the truth until like your newspaper gets bought. And then it gets bought by a guy that's like, the truth though. I mean, what is truth really? Just say whatever I tell you to say. But it is a difficult thing to distill for yourself, because you have to. You can't just, I'm not saying that there was ever some golden age where all of media was honest and forthright. I'm just saying that it used to be a little bit more simple. That you were even overdoing it if you checked, 3 sources to see if something was true. Because there are things that used to be delivered with a little bit less. You still have the bias of the outlet, but it was a little less political at all times, and there was a little less looking for the bleed. Here's what happened, and I said it in a sexy voice. That used to be American news. You know? And now we've slowly become this more and more and more like corporate warped version of trying to do the news. News became entertainment. It became a show. And you know there's a show, you know it's entertainment because they're not delivering you the news out of the kindness of their hearts. I'm not saying that the journalists that are doing the news aren't dedicated. I'm saying that the body, the system and the machine that we look to for reporting is just, they're trying to sell razors in between every disaster. Like that should tell you something, you know? Because you see the report, and you see people, chaos in the streets in LA. Look at everything that's happening. And then you like talk to someone who's in LA, or you even just look at an Instagram story that your friend made on a random day who's not that far from the protest. And you're like, I don't know, they are loading up their car with Trader Joe's. Like that doesn't feel apocalyptic at all. Like if you can get the sliced mango from Trader Joe's, I think the supply chain is intact. That's one of the first things to go. We don't even have mangoes like that. Oh, news says absolute chaos. And then you look at somebody's, just like legit, somebody's like TikTok that they're making. Not even about the protest, just that they're making. You know they live in LA. And while they're making this protest, while supposedly the city is on fire, they're finding parking. That's not supposed to happen ever. And one thing that can't be lost on us when we think about or talk about Donald Trump is the only thing that he's ever been successful in is reality TV. We don't know him from the steaks. We don't know him from the casinos. We don't know him from the vodka or the water, which was probably vodka. We don't know him from anything except truly reality TV. Even in real estate, it's like, okay, it's like a name, but I don't know anyone who ever lived on one of those properties. You know, it's the TV. He figured it out. He figured out reality TV, and he's still doing reality TV. He's just doing it as the president. The mix of reality and TV is a different cocktail for every show. You know, there are shows that are 10% reality and 90% TV, where if you took away the TV element, none of these things would happen. These people wouldn't know each other. And then there's some that are 50-50. Like, I feel like Love Island is 50-50. You know what I mean? Love Island to me is, because look, even if there was no show, these are the people who would be hooking up with these people. Like this is every time you watch a cast introduced of Love Island, you're like, that seems right. Like this, that's who everyone goes for that's in that group anyway. They all seem happy. There's never like a guy in Love Island that's like, so ladies. Just floating like an NPC. Like, it's always somebody with like 9 abs. And you're like, how do you get the extra? When he's standing up, when he's sitting down, it's very defined. You know, it's shows that are even mostly reality with a little hint of TV, just a little bit of producing to make sure it's polished enough for the people so that they can consume it and not be thinking about how they're on like a 5th episode of it, you know? And that's where Trump comes from. He comes from reality TV. It's the only thing that he's ever been really, really good at making. And that's what he's doing right now, reality TV instead of governing. Because if he were governing and he really wanted to be smart about it, this dude would do what he does best. He'd just lie. Think about this. This man lies about everything. And this immigration thing is the only thing he's like actually tried to do. It's very weird. Like, I just, it's a long walk, but stick with me for a second. As presidents go, most deportations have been going down. They were, I think, at least in recent memory, they were the last highest under Obama, but Obama did them all through the courts and everything. It wasn't just like a rounding up type of thing. And so then Biden had less, Trump even had less in his first term than Obama. And then now, Trump, right now, even with the show, has less than he had the first time. And it's weird to me because in the campaign, we were promised that there were millions. There were millions of illegal immigrant criminals. They were behind you. Have you checked your pants? They're in there too. They're under your bed. They're everywhere. You can't throw a constitution without hitting an illegal criminal alien. We were told that there were millions of them in the country. Yet somehow, when ICE really starts ramping up, because we're really doing this thing, it takes like a week before they were like, have you tried a school? Like, I don't know. Yeah, I can't find any. That's crazy. We got a couple that first week, but yeah, I guess there were only like 3,500 or whatever. I guess we're just gonna have to start going everywhere, and that's what they did. That's why it is the way it is, because ICE is over here trying to do these deportations, trying to grab people and everything, but I thought there were millions of illegal criminal aliens. Why are you finding them all at work? Like, I just had no idea that my local taco spot was specifically MS-13 tacos. I had no idea that Tra de la Ringa, the gang I can't pronounce, I had no idea that that's who was like folding the clothes at Kohl's. Like, that's, because that's what you've been led to believe. Every arrest is warranted. ICE is trying to do their job. All of this mandated makes sense. That's what you've been told. And the thing is, you need to make a show out of it, because even with all the chaos, even with all the footage, it's still less. That's crazy. Even with you going around the court, it's less. That's wild. That it's still less, even with all of this show going on. Because what isn't a show, what's actually reality, is that people are being ripped away from their families. And these are hardworking people. These are people that have been here for a long time. These are a lot of people who are actually trying to do the right thing as hard as they possibly can. But the system is slow and it's imperfect. And then they get arrested by ICE at the courthouse for their hearing. And all of this when Trump could have just lied. He could have just been like, yeah, I did it. Who would say he didn't? All of his fans would be like, he did it. He said he was gonna do it, and he did. I don't even know when he did. That was so fast. Damn. Even Democrats would be like, yay, you did it. At least. The one time he doesn't lie. And so you have this ICE operation happening on these square blocks, these protesters clashing with ICE. ICE doesn't feel safe. They don't feel like they can make movements and everything. And so then, the LAPD comes, and maybe the LAPD was there the entire time, I don't know, but the LAPD is there, and Trump sends in the National Guard. Now, he can't send in the National Guard just to arrest people and crack skulls and everything like that. So what he does, he tries to get around it by deploying the National Guard just to protect these two buildings. But then they're there in case ICE feels like they need their help detaining someone or that they aren't able to carry out their operations, right? So dangerous precedent, but whatever. So then Trump wants to send in the National Guard, which everybody, not every single person, but most people were upset about, because the LAPD, in case you're not aware from TV, from movies, or just from history, historically loves to whoop ass. That is their favorite thing. The LAPD can't stop whooping ass. They love, it's their number one. And so when the LAPD found out the National Guard was coming, I know they were probably like, but I didn't even get to. No, go ahead, send. Yeah. No, you know what's best, send them in. No, you wanna do it. And then the National Guard comes, and there's not a ton for them to do, because it's like 2 square blocks. No matter how many times they keep showing you the same footage over and over and over again of these things burning, of this like 3 stores that got looted. They show you the same thing over and over, but it's just not happening that way. And it's not that spread out. People are finding parking in Los Angeles. And so the National Guard gets there, and they're like, all right, yeah, that, okay. All right, so there's nothing to do, and you deployed us without making sure we had a place to sleep. So then they're all on the floor. They're sleeping on the concrete with nothing to do, and everybody's mad now because National Guard isn't getting paid what the LAPD is getting paid, so now the LAPD can't whoop ass. National Guard here for no reason. And then Trump is like, send the Marines then. I know if you're in the LAPD, you're like, the Marines? National Guard had to be like, the Marines? Even the Marines had to be like, the Marines? And then LAPD just sitting there like, I just want... Is whooping a little ass too much to ask? But I know that it's very, very, very important to understand what's reality and what's TV, and not to confuse the two. And the way to combat reality TV being everywhere all the time is real connection with real people. I was able to call people or text people who were in LA that told me, no, I mean, there was parking at Trader Joe's. Everything actually pretty chill. And without that, I might honestly be like, I don't know, y'all. There were 3 Waymos on fire. I took it as a lesson. And I would hope that more people see the things that were happening in LA and make sure that outside of any news outlet you follow, outside of like any narrative that you make the choice to believe, because there are so many varying narratives for every event that you do have to make choices, that above all of those things, you will talk to people. Because talking to people is the real perspective that you need. When you talk to someone who's really going through the thing, no matter what it is, no matter what it is, even bigger than LA, even bigger than the protests, when you talk to someone, you finally get from their perspective right to the root of an issue, as opposed to whoever's talking over them. And I think that for me, talking to my friends, making sure that they were safe, let me know that this thing was not what it was being made out to be. Don't get me wrong. I think that something was starting in LA, and I think that thing is scary. I think that there's a push to make authoritarian moves and to see how far things can be bent and how much people can be pushed and pulled before they'll do anything about it. And I think that LA was a perfect test for that. Let's take something that's really just 2 blocks and let's make it look like it's the entire city, and we'll see if they believe us. Let's send in all the cops we have, then the National Guard, then the Marines, and see how much people want that, if they go for it or not. So something is happening, and I would encourage every single one of you to hold on to everyone that you know. DC is one of those places where everybody is from everywhere and everyone knows everyone everywhere else. And if you keep that type of global community together, you'll have no problem in my opinion at least, distinguishing what's happening from what's not. Because you'll have people that you can talk to, people that are really going through the thing in real time. I'm not saying don't watch the news at all. Sometimes they have newscasters on there who they put in the hurricane. It's very entertaining. Yo, DC, y'all been fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all.